Hey, welcome to today's episode, Improve Openings, When to Learn the Opening Theory. I am ChessBrain, and in today's video, I will reveal the secret of when to dive into the opening theory. Have you ever felt like your openings are holding you back because your opponents know them better? By the end of this video, you will understand what the opening theory is, when we should learn it, and how to avoid a very common mistake. I will share with you my advice, some ideas, and my own personal experience. So the first question we should ask is, what is the opening theory? And in my opinion, it's advanced, more in-depth approach to the openings, where we focus on studying the best possible moves in concrete positions. And here is a mistake that I can see over and over again. Many players focus on the opening theory at the wrong time. We need to remember that we have three stages of the game: openings, middle games, and end games. And actually here we move on to the second part of this video, which is when to learn the opening theory. And let me illustrate you that better, showing you the levels. So the first level is called foundations. If you understand your openings, it means that you know exactly what to do regardless of your opponent's strategy. You are confident. Then you can move on to the middle games and end games. And if you know how to create middle game plans, you know exactly the steps that you should follow, and you understand the end games, what is the most important, how to navigate in end games, then we can move on to the level 2. And level 2 is called advanced strategies. And here we can see the opening theory. The opening theory belongs to the advanced level. And the interesting thing is that if you master foundations in openings, middle games, end games, you should be able to cross at least 1500 in rating. So if you want me to help you with passing this first level, check out the ChessBrain masterclass that I've created. You will find the link in the description. So the common mistake is that people skip the level 1 and they already jumped into advanced strategies, which is studying opening theory. So like you can see, it's not that the rating tells us when we should learn theory, because for some player it might be 1500, for another one might be 1800. It depends on how fast you will learn the foundations, and also it would be worth it to calculate variations at some decent level. Now you will be surprised, because I will show you what can happen if you learn the opening theory too early. And to illustrate you that better, I will use examples from the ChessBrain Mastery Workbook, and we will look closer at the chapter called Adapting. And we start with the Rapport-Jobava system. White plays pawn to d4, d5, and then knight c3, knight f6, bishop f4, and pawn to e6. This is one of the main positions. And here in this concrete position, one of the ideas is to play knight b5 with the attack on c7 pawn to fork our opponent. And the opponent has two options to defend this against the spread. And one option is to play knight a6. And thanks to that, we forced our opponent to move the knight to the wrong spot on the board. The knight is far from the center, is inactive, so we really like the solution. We accomplished something. And the second option is black can play bishop d6, but then if we take with the knight, we have pair of bishops in open position, which most of the time is favorable for us. So that's the idea behind knight b5 move. This is why we can attack our opponent a little bit earlier. And now let's take a look at another example. Here, in this position is from the same opening, right? Rapport-Jobava system. White knew this idea with knight b5, but position is not the same. It's similar, but not the same. And here white has decided to play knight b5 with the attack on c7, but this time black doesn't need to play knight a6 or bishop d6. Black can simply play rook c8, and then knight c7 is not a threat anymore. What can happen here is we can see that white moved twice the same piece in the opening, wasting time, while the opponent brought the next piece to the game. And knight b5 is a clear mistake in this position. Instead of that, white was ready to castle, and of course this is the move that I would recommend in this position. Yes, so we can see a clear mistake with knight b5. Let's take a look at another example. So this time we will look at the Indian defense. So white plays d4, knight f6, knight f3, and white develops kingside pieces, black develops kingside pieces, we both castle. And here black plays pawn to d6 in this position. That's the move we want to look closer at. And the idea is that next we might play c5 or e5 and we attack the center. Yes, because we also want to control the center. So this is the idea for black. And now let's take a look at another position. It's very similar, but it's not the same. And the difference here is that white, instead of castling, he pushed pawn to f4. And in this situation, black played pawn to d6, because this is one of the main ideas, right, in the Indian defense. But if we look closer at this situation and opponent's pawn structure, it turns out that if we play pawn to d5, we create the outpost on e4. So we can exploit this square maybe later in the future, and we might get initiative or just easier game thanks to that. So these are the things we want to consider. Yes, if you understand middle games, for example, and we understand openings, we can play much better moves, have initiative more time in our games, and basically better results. And let's take a look at the last example here. So white plays d4, d5. I think we know the London system, right? We developed the bishop, and then e3, black plays c5, and white likes to play c3, building this pyramid here. So let me show you another example. Black started with c5, and this is not a pawn blunder, because if we take it, black can play e6 maybe and recapture this pawn, or knight a6 and take this pawn back, or with the queen checking and taking there are some options to take this pawn back. And white decided to go c3. It doesn't look like a mistake, but then the next move is pawn to d6. So this is what black played, and now white has decided to move bishop f4, because this is in the opening theory, this is how the system looks, but not against c5 followed by d6. Now the position is different, and there are two options. One option is we can just take the pawn. He has to recapture, otherwise he loses this pawn, and then his king cannot castle anymore and stays in the middle. Or if you don't like trading queens like that, you can just push e4 and easily control the center. So this is another option that gives you advantage. Instead of that, like I mentioned in the game, bishop f4 was played, and this is a mistake. And you might be surprised, but I see these mistakes very frequently in games of 1400 players, 1600, 1800, sometimes even 2000 players make similar mistakes. By the way, if you are interested in getting this ebook, it's already included as a bonus in the ChessBrain Masterclass that I've mentioned before. So we move on to the conclusions. And the first point is that the opening theory belongs to the advanced level. It might be 1500, 1800, 2000. The rating will not tell you that when you should start learning opening theory. It depends on how fast you will understand foundations in openings, middle games, and end games. And also, it's good to improve calculations first before we move on to this advanced level. And the second point is that learning opening theory too early can distract you from building a good, healthy opening habits in chess, can confuse you, and also waste your time. It also might be more difficult to understand this opening theory because it's quite often correlated with some middle game plans. In this episode, I don't say that you shouldn't learn the opening theory. I just emphasize that we should do that at the right time. If your opponent is armed with opening theory, he knows openings better than you, but you are better in middle games, you calculate faster and more accurately, and you can see tactics from miles away, probably you will win majority of your games, or maybe even all of them. And I can tell you that because that's something what I've noticed playing chess for over 20 years. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to support me, please remember to subscribe to this channel. I would also love to hear what is your experience about opening theory and your thoughts and ideas about this topic. Also remember to check out my ChessBrain masterclass, and if you haven't seen yet my previous video about Queen's development, here it's the video. Again, thank you for watching, have a great day, and see you next time.